And noted by my next guest, because I'm now joined by Phil Gaynor from SolarSure. It's a company helping people all across Ireland switch to clean, renewable energy. Whether it's cutting down on bills or doing a bit for the planet, solar is becoming a more popular option for homes and businesses. Phil's here to tell us how it all works, what support is out there, and why more people are making the move to solar power. You just wanted to acknowledge Kyle there as well. You're quite taken with what Kyle had to say there about the whole area of safety, something that I'm sure you're aware of as well, Phil.
Absolutely. Kyle just ticked a lot of boxes there in relation to how we approach our own site work to ensure lads have tickets if they're on scaffolding, and we'd have multiple health and safety plans so to ensure that our customers are well briefed to have any potential breakables away from the sites when we're working. And invariably, if they need to access the site, even to come out the front door, we're working on the front of the house to ensure that they have the correct PP, protective clothing on, you know.
Right, so there you are, two interviews from separate areas, but both ticking the boxes when it comes to safety. Phil, before we even look at who you are and what you do, you have a strong Wexford connection. You're a Dub originally, but you're now an adopted Wexford man, is that right? And you have to say hello straight away to regular listeners to SouthEast Radio.
Absolutely.
In the Clonroach area. Your in-laws.
So my other half, Anne-Marie's mum, Mary Lambert, who's a good, strong Clonroach woman, and her aunt, Bridget MacDonald, who's also listening avidly to the show from morning to night. I mean, they have me hooked on country music at this stage. Insofar as Anne-Marie, my other half, is actually looking at planning to do dance lessons for us, for me doing the old jive, which we wouldn't typically do at my generation in Dublin. So yeah, I've been down in Wexford 21, 22 years.
Okay.
Good Wexford woman brought me down this neck of the woods, and I live over in Duncannon, so love it.
So now you're in the good books. You've said hello to them this morning in the programme.
Life wouldn't be worth living otherwise.
Let's get on to the main reason you're here then. Solar panels. Let's look at some of the basic questions. How do they actually work in a house, and what happens on cloudy days?
Sure, so I'm in solar a little over 10 years, Alan, which is nearly the embryonic stages of when solar kicked off, right? When I started out 10 years ago, people seen it as a kind of a very hippie, green energy, new age kind of a concept. And now, modern day, very much people are clued into what solar means. So it's a very simple metrics, right? So to not confuse the technical side, every single solar panel that gets put on a roof, or in a flat roof scenario, or in a garden scenario, will generate roughly €120 efficiency per year between usage and the export that you get back to the grid. Each panel. So in simple terms, an average 3/4 bedroom house in an estate will take in and around 10 panels. So that means you're saving somewhere between €1,200 and €1,300 a year off your solar bill.
After an initial cost. I can't go too much into pricing, but there is an initial cost, isn't there?
I'll put it this way. The actual return on your investment has gone in the last number of years to about 6-7 years because of technology and because the actual material costs have come down quite a bit. The average return on investment now is between 3 and 3.5 years. So I'll put it this way. When I often say to people, if you give me €1,000 and I will give you €280 every year for the next 30 years, that's what solar is in terms of return. About 27-28% return on your investment.
You've kind of preempted my next question, which is what kind of savings can an average household realistically expect on their energy bills?
You know,
you've actually answered that question, haven't you? Kind of. You jumped the gun a bit.
Typical Dub, huh? Yeah. You know, I've often walked into an area where there's two identical houses beside one another in the same estate, and I'd create a different bespoke solution for each, because where I start is the usage. So what is your electricity bill? Your electricity bill, most people will be between €300 and €400 every 2 months. So from that I can work out, well, it's 15 panels or it's 17 panels, and of course then the bolt-on of a potential battery. There's still a bit of an urban myth around battery technology. I'm a huge advocate of it. So the way battery works, so let's say, for example, your bill was €1,500 a year electricity, but you can only fit 12 panels on the roof. What we would do is we put a battery in situ. So the battery takes the excess solar off the roof and charges. The battery is roughly 5.2 kilowatt starting point. And also on the low rate of electricity off peak at night. So after 11 p.m, for example, my rate of electricity is roughly 11.7 cents. I charge up my batteries, and then first thing in the morning, boom, my battery kicks in. So instead of me paying 30 odd cent peak rates, my battery's doing the heavy lifting.
Do you still have electricity in your house, standard electricity?
I do, absolutely. Yeah. So
it's a mixture, it's like a hybrid model then, is it?
Well, solar is connected to the grid. So if, for example, say the ESB are doing works in the area and they need to put the grid off, or storm damage and your house has gone down, the solar also goes down, unfortunately. It's because it's connected. What you can't have is a region like, for example, Duncannon, where I am, and there's potentially 500 houses with solar production. The ESB cannot have a storage back to the grid. The only saving grace is where you have batteries. So an average house, for example, will use about 10 to 15 kilowatts for an entire day. Yeah. I have 2 batteries, so I have 10.4 kilowatts of battery. So in principle, if my electricity goes down, I have an automatic crossover switch that the battery kicks in. So I'll have the lights on versus the neighbours that will be in darkness for potentially about a day and a half because of the battery storage.
Grants, financial supports, are they available?
They are.
How do you go about them?
The grant process is very simple. At SolarSure, we'd have a team that would talk you through the entire process, whether that's residential, whether that's a commercial grant, or whether that's TAMS for agricultural, for farmers. It's a half-an-hour process. You log on to the SCAI, we send a link, we talk you through it, and the grants start at €1,400, 1,600, and at the top level, from 4 kilowatts up, it's €1,800, the grant.
Okay.
So roughly 20% of the net costings.
And how long it takes to install solar?
We're in and out in the same day, in most cases.
Really?
Yeah. So normally what happens is the roofing team will rock up about 8:45 in the morning, set up the scaffolding if it's required, put up the rails on the roof. The electric team arrive beyond them about 10 o'clock in the morning, and then both teams are done and dusted by 5 o'clock that afternoon.
Is solar sexy though, Phil?
I think it's incredibly sexy.
Is it?
I really do. I mean, you know, I'll give you a very, very broad example.
People often wonder about the panels on the roofs, etc.
Well, first of all, they're going to protect your roof. That's the main thing. Yeah. They've got very slick and very sleek looking over the last number of years.
You've made them look sexy there.
Yeah, well, I haven't done anything to make them look sexy. That's the roofer's job.
That's our talking point for the day, sexy solar.
I love it. We'll use that in our next slogan.
Right.
Now, look, you know, it's practical. There's nothing I get more of a kick out of. It's funny, you know, I was dealing with a gentleman down in Lismore in Waterford, 94 years of age. 94, who, when I spoke to him about solar, and obviously, you know, in his lifetime, he may not see a huge level of returns, but he sat and said to me, you know, Phil, my motivation is carbon. We take like typical electricity that it takes to run this building or any residential house. The majority is still from gas or coal. Yeah. Solar is 1/20th less production. Like, carbon emissions in Ireland are responsible for over 1,700 deaths. So you can make an assumption that there's probably in and around 50 people in Wexford alone that will die from carbon emission output, from diesel. Yeah. So with solar, you're removing all of that for the environment.
I've really enjoyed chatting to you. We've even made solar sexy this morning on the programme. So finally, maintenance. What sort of maintenance?
Zero maintenance.
Really?
So at SolarSure, what we do is, we're probably, like most solar companies are excellent at what they do, in fairness, you know, and they're highly regulated by the SCAI. But we have what we call SolarSure Care Plus. So if within the 2 years after installation there's any technical issues, we guarantee to have an engineer with you on the same day.
Website, how can people get you?
SolarSure.ie, or you can phone us on 051 355 033.
Now you can go dancing out of the studio, Phil. Great to meet you.
We'll see how that goes. Thanks, Alan. Absolute pleasure.
Pleasure.